discussing how to create a purchase request. So I'm going to be using the forms that you'd be having in the flowchart. So I'm basically in your shoes right now. So when you log on to Campus Connection, this is the screen that you will be looking at. So this is the Explore function. To make a purchase request, you have to go into the Manage function. So to start off, we're going to go into the Manage function. If you go up here on the top right, there is a button that says Switch Views. So you click on that and you click on Manage. Now, when you scroll down in the Manage function, you will see My Memberships. Now, you will be clicking on the club that you want to make a purchase for. So because I'm part of the Student Association, I will be clicking on that. And then once you see this club view, you can go up to the upper left, right next to the name of your organization. When you click on that, a drop-down menu pops up, and then you can click on Finance. And this is kind of like the central hub for all financial activities on Campus Connection for your club. So we are going to be clicking on Create Purchase Request. Now there is a difference between a purchase and a funding request. A funding request is a request that you put into the Student Association that says, hey, we need more budget money. A purchase request is simply saying, hey, we're going to use some of our budget money to buy XYZ, something like that. So purchase requests are much more frequently used than funding requests. So make sure that you know the difference of the two. So when you click on Create Purchase Request, you will be seeing this long form. Now don't worry, it's not too scary. You can actually fill it out pretty quickly. So to start off, the subject of the purchase request. If it's for an event, then you would add in a specific date. Say, for example, you're having a painting event and you're going to be having pizza. Say you could, for example, say art supplies and pizza for our event, and then you can say when it is. Now make sure to add in the date of the event and not the date that you're making the purchase request, because we would already have that anyway. Next is the description. So what you could say, you don't have to be very, very specific, but just a little bit more specific than the subject. For example, you could say, we will be buying 2 pepperoni pizzas and brushes and paint and canvases for our event. So something along the lines of that, using the example that we're using right now, is completely acceptable. Next is the requested amount. So obviously, you don't know how much you're going to pay until you actually pay for it. So a nice estimate would be good. If you overestimate, don't worry. The amount that you actually pay will only be deducted from your club's budget, not the predicted amount. So for example, if you expect to pay 100 but you only pay 50, $50 will be deducted from your club's budget. Make sure not to underestimate, because unfortunately if you underestimate too much, there's going to be a big problem. So we're going to be asking questions like, did you really buy what you thought you were going to buy, and things like that. So definitely overestimate rather than underestimate. But if you go over by, say, 10%, then that's no big deal. That's just a general rule of thumb that we have here in the office. Now the categories. There are a lot of them, but you really only have to focus on about 5 or 6 of them. So the ones that you should pay attention to are check, if you're going to be buying what you need using a check. A contractual agreement, so that would be something along the lines of the personal service contract, which you can find in the flowchart. A credit card, so you will be paying with a credit card. This is the most common category that you will be using. Payroll is if you have employees and you're going to be paying them. Petty cash request is for petty cash. A reimbursement is for a reimbursement. And a transfer between lines is a line transfer. And these last couple that you will see will be discussed in other parts of the flowchart. But for now, for example, we're going to do what's most common. We're going to click credit card. Now the account. So it looks very different for clubs that aren't completely SA funded. Clubs, for example, like the Student Association, OSIS, Inter-Greek Council. But for those clubs that are completely funded by us, you're going to be seeing many different accounts that you can take from. So in those accounts, there is a description for what they are used for. So, of course, the events line would be used for buying items that are used in events, and so on and so forth. I discuss in more detail in the how to monitor your club's budget video in the beginning of the flowchart. Now, this part is super, super important. A payee literally just means the vendor that you're going to be buying from. Please do not leave this blank, or else we won't know where you will be buying what you need. And please do not put yourself as the payee, because if you think about it, the club would be paying you, and that doesn't really make too much sense. The only reason why your name could be on this is if it was for a reimbursement or if it was for a petty cash request. But for now, this is neither, so we're just going to be saying, for example, Tino's Pizza. So that's really all it is. So you don't really have to fill in the last name, street, city, state, or the zip code. If it is for a local business or for a website, you could say, for example, just for fun, tinospizza.com. That's all you really have to do. The only reason you would have to fill out the rest of this information if our office had to send this person a check or whatever through the mail. So if it's for a student, you really only have to fill out the first name and the last name, and we can email them to say, hey, pick up your check, it's in the SA office. Or if it's just for a business, you only have to fill out the first name. Now, additional information, this is actually not too bad. This is a pretty easy section. If this purchase request is going towards the function of an event, then you would put the Campus Connection URL right here. Please make sure that all of your club's events get approved before you buy things for them, or else we can't approve of them. It just makes things much easier, and by the off chance that your event does get denied and you bought something for them, then that'd be really awkward. Next is if this is an athletic event, you need a safety officer or whatever, you can click yes or no. If this is for a rental vehicle, you need an appropriate amount of approved drivers, depending on the number of cars that you are planning on renting. If things are getting imprinted or customized, we have to make sure that they're not copyright infringed, things like that. And then this down at the bottom here, this is how you would like us to handle the payment. More than likely, you're going to be clicking this second one, which is mail the check or pay credit card directly. So if you were going to use the first one, that's, for example, if you wanted to pay someone directly or something like that. So more times than not, you're going to be using the second one, but just think about it logically for what you will be using the money for. So that is how to create a purchase request. Super quickly, I'm going to go over the various stages. Now, total, there are actually 6 stages of a purchase request. You really only have to pay attention to 3 of them. Now, the first one is stage 1. That is when you click the submit request button down at the bottom. That means that your purchase request has been sent in. Once you do that, your club's advisor will instantly get a message from Campus Connection saying, hey, this purchase request for the club that you're advising was put in. It needs your approval. So your advisor's approval of purchase request really determines how fast it gets approved. So if you're in a time crunch, you really have to get on your advisor and say, hey, we don't have a lot of time. Make sure that this gets approved when I turn it in. Because usually us in the office, we are in here every day. Things go by pretty fast. So when your advisor approves of it, they can move it to stage 2, unapproved. And then when I take a look at it and I say it's okay, then it goes to stage 2 approved, and that gives you the green light to come to our office, and you can turn in whatever forms you need. You can pick up a credit card and buy whatever you need then. Now, just to keep in mind, if you are if you are borrowing a credit card, it's a 1 business day return policy. Just make sure you buy what you need the same day, and then you return it the next day. So that's a purchase request, and keep on going through the flowchart.